probably about 10 years into our marriage, I went to a party, and you're just at a party, people are talking,
Mhm.
and someone's like, "Hey, Allie, what do you do for fun?" And I couldn't freaking answer that
Oh my
question.
gosh,
Like
Allie.
hobbies?
We've all been
I'm like,
there. Wow.
hobbies? Like,
Hold the
I
wait.
play
kids.
Barbie with my
I'm
kids.
like, I do laundry, I clean,
Hold the baby.
yeah, I change diapers. I'm like, hobbies? Like, I don't even know. But that person changed my life. They didn't even know it.
Welcome to Delulu Magic, where we Delulu our mindset and create the most magical version of our lives. We're really excited to have Allie on.
Thank you.
She is a local Houston content creator and lifestyle blogger, and we are so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, Allie. I'm very excited. I know that we've met previously through a mutual friend of ours, and it was so nice whenever she told Paula told me. And I was like, oh, I love her, trying to figure this out. And it felt like, almost like the universe wanted us to be together again.
Right.
There was a reason. And that you've got a big light to share with us as well.
Oh, thank
So,
you. Yeah, as
very
soon as I
special.
saw what you girls were doing,
Yeah.
I was like, I definitely need to be a part of that because it aligns so nicely with what I do and what I believe in and what I stand for. So I am so honored to be here today to talk about my story.
Oh, I love it.
I do.
And I read about, just a little bit about you. And it was so funny because as I was reading, you started off in pharmaceutical sales. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I see her in myself like so much. And
Mhm.
just, the people pleasing article that you wrote. And I love everything that you talk about because so many women, we get stuck in these roles that we think are expected of us. And a lot of us don't wake up and we just kind of like tuck it in, and eventually it starts to affect things like our health and just other issues, just our mind, our mental state. So I'd love to find out, obviously starting in pharmaceutical sales, like how has success, like how did you define success before, and how has that evolved over time?
So I think when you're younger, you define success very differently. And then as you grow, evolve, and develop into your own self, you define it very differently. Like in the past, I will admit, when I was younger, it was more of a material thing. So if I do this and this and this, it will lead to this. And so now I'm at a point in my life where success is about being content.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have certain things. It means that I'm like searching for like that peace and the harmony that I need in my life to feel balanced. I surround myself with different people, people that inspire me, people that push me. And I do like the idea of just being at peace with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes when you are in that stage in your life where you're seeking this success, you don't even really know what that is. You might have an end goal, but once you get to that end goal, it doesn't even bring you any joy or happiness. And so you have to find that through your own content in your own life and who you are and what you bring to the table. That's what I found. Mm-hmm.
That is really good. I think most of us are finding that, right, as women, and unfortunately, I think it takes getting through a lot of other things to find that you go to find yourself, right?
Right.
Um, I know that I also read like that she sent me the people pleasing article. That's a big one, right? I that's my big I will call it my trigger, my little trauma, all the things you want to call it. And how have you found can you share with me or with us like things that you have been able to implement? I know you told us a little bit about how you found like aligning with yourself, but about as far as like the people pleasing, because I feel like most of us walk that line without realizing it,
Without realizing it.
Yeah,
I
Right.
did
we
not
think
even
we're not,
realize that
we're not
how
those
much,
people.
yeah, I put others in
Yeah.
front of my priority or my,
Self.
myself.
Yeah, yeah.
I think for most women, we're natural people pleasers. I think for the most part, because we do have that nurturing side to us. And for me, it was hard because I was first born in an Italian immigrant family. So there was a lot of expectation on
Yes.
me. Even though my family was very good about allowing me to be free with who I am. Like if I wanted to voice an opinion, they weren't going to like shut me down or anything like that. But there was this layer of trying to make everybody happy and to please them because they did come to this country, they were working really hard. So I wanted to make them happy. And I think along the way, I just started picking up these people pleasing tendencies. And then I would find myself in that in a work environment. Like I would do things that I didn't feel comfortable with, or even in relationships. I found myself like pleasing them versus pleasing myself, like making sure that my boundaries were put into place. I didn't have good boundaries, I'm going to admit.
Yeah.
I did not have good boundaries. I thought for me, if you put a boundary in place, that means you're micromanaging someone, and I didn't want to do that. I'm like, I'm independent, I'm strong. I don't need to tell someone what to do. They should already automatically know what to do, but that's not true. Like, and a boundary is not really telling someone what to do. It's really about setting the standard for yourself and then sharing that with others and being okay with doing that. And it took me a long time. I'm learning boundaries in my 40s.
Yeah.
Girl, right
And
here with
yeah,
you. Right here with
I'm
you.
I'm learning boundaries in my 40s, and when I see women that are in their late 20s, 30s doing it, I'm like, I'm so proud of you, girl.
Yes.
I just want to give them a
Yes.
big hug and be like,
Yes.
good for you, because it's so important
Yeah.
to do those kinds of things very early on. I hope I'm teaching my girls to do that too, just to have those specific standards for your own life and how you want to live and what you allow in and what is okay with you.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And once I made that shift, and it was not easy to make that shift because your whole life you go with a certain personality and a certain way of doing things, and then as soon as you stop,
Yes.
people are like, "Oh, what's up with her? Like, why is she doing that now? Who does she think she is?" But really, it was because I had to. I had to protect myself, my health, because that's another thing we can talk about later. But the health component was really big for me to make that mental switch. Like, this is it. This is all I got. This is the only life I have. You better start putting things in place to allow good things to come to you and not always pouring. I was like pouring out to everybody else, but nobody was pouring into me. So, and you feel very depleted when that happens.
Absolutely. And I think it's almost the universe showing you these little things, right? And it gets louder and louder because I'm sure we saw these things in our 20s, but like you said, you're like, "Oh no, I don't want to make this other person uncomfortable. I don't want to, come across this way. I want to this notion of I want to be the good girl." And I think it starts so early on.
Yeah.
And, again, I'm like you. I'm in, really coming into this like in maybe late 30s, early 40s. And now I'm glad, and like even for you, I think we're breaking these generational things because we can show our kids, right? They're gonna do not what we say, oh, put yourself first, prioritize yourself, but they're gonna do what they see us doing.
Right.
And so it's so beautiful that you've been able to like go on this journey and that you're able to share, everything that you've been working on. I absolutely love that, and I commend you for it.
Thank you.
Because I know it's hard.
It's very hard.
It's easier said than
Very
done.
hard.
It's very hard.
It's when that's all you know.
It's
know,
exactly. It's
because-
all you know. And then when it's everything that it's all everyone knows around you too. So when you start making these shifts, it's kind of a shock to the people around you.
Yeah. They don't know, but so I can tell you my version right now is I just stepped into this version of me, and I don't even. A lot of my struggles at the beginning of recording, it was because I was like, oh my gosh, what is everybody gonna say? What is it? What I'm missing? I'm not doing for others. I'm actually taking something for me. Now I'm like, I just told her, I was like, I'm so comfortable now because I'm putting myself first. I still don't do it 100%, but I'm finding it's easier the more I do it. But it is shocking to my world, right? Like what my role has been for everybody to remove priority as the external, and now I'm like, well, it's me that needs to be taken care of. Like I'm the only one, according to my therapist. Nobody's gonna save you. It's you. Like there's nothing that's gonna drop down and be like, okay, now you don't have any, you're not a people pleaser anymore. You're not, solving everything for everybody. So it's definitely something that we can all commend and try to continue continue the journey. I call it every day, every day.
What do you do when you fall back? Because I think it's something, and I think everyone should know this. When you've grown up with certain limiting belief or certain thoughts of
Beliefs.
this is who I am, a certain identity, let's say, right? And with it's the people pleasing or being a good girl. And even when you wake up, I would say, and you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to prioritize myself, take care of me, pour into me first, because how can I pour into everyone else if I have nothing left? But sometimes it's easy to fall back into that. What do you do when you kind of notice yourself starting to get depleted or like starting back into that people pleasing? Are there any like tips that you can share?
Sure. I think the big thing is when you're going through this journey, it's not like a straight
Mm.
journey. So it's going to be like a little crooked
Yes.
here and there. So you're going to go left, right, straight. Like it's going to look different every day. But I think the big thing that I do is I do not beat myself up. I give myself a lot of grace because I didn't do that before. I would give grace to everybody around me. Forgiveness, grace, compassion, love. I gave that to everyone, but I didn't give it to myself. So when I started going on this journey, I would catch myself getting off path and then I would beat myself up over it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like failing at this. I'm not going to ever do this. It's never going to be right for me. But then I switched that mindset, which is really important, and just started saying, no, like the love and the grace and the compassion I give to others, I have to give to myself. And so when I find myself kind of veering off path, I bring myself in, I give myself some time and space, even if it's like, okay, today I don't want to feel like healing. I just want to lay in bed and cry and just have a bad day. I allow myself to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think of it as like a two steps back. I think of it as, no, this is part of my journey, and I allow myself to kind of flow through what I need to flow through
At that moment.
at that moment. Because I think if you start looking at your journey and start putting all of these like kind of not rules, but sort of like, I have to do this, I have to do that, then you're not gonna heal properly,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna honor your true self.
You're still on the same kind of like, I have to.
Yeah.
You're still doing a role.
The
Right.
expectation, like,
Instead of letting it be what it needs to be,
Right.
which is with grace and love
Yeah.
for yourself, and being in touch with exactly what's needed.
Yep.
Which not tuning it out. So that's
yeah.
So I always tell people, like, just give yourself grace. It's not going to be an easy journey. It really isn't. If you've
Yeah.
been a certain way for X amount of years,
Yeah.
how do you expect to change in like 2 years? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Oh
So
my
you
gosh,
have to give yourself that honor and that grace and the same love and compassion you give to other people.
And I think you're right. Like that self-talk, I realize I think one of the key components, because we can say an affirmation or talk to ourselves nice in the mirror in the morning, you're going to do amazing.
Right.
But then what about the rest of the entire day
Yeah.
when you're sitting here and you're like, oh, I didn't do that right. Or, criticizing yourself because you did want to just lay in bed and cry. And I think a lot of people get into that, and then also just forget that it doesn't have to be this linear path. So I'm really glad, you've mentioned that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be, it's temporary. Maybe if you have a bad day, allow yourself to just have that temporary moment where you're just feeling really down or low. But you just know tomorrow I'm going to wake up. It's going to be a new day and start fresh.
yeah, and not suppressing. Would you say that before you used to suppress? So because I know you've dealt with thyroid cancer, so I'm
Yes.
utilizing
No,
my
no, no,
questions
go ahead.
because I just find like your
know.
story.
Go ahead. We're just talking.
And
You guys
we've both dealt with just thyroid issues just in general, right? And very much into like energy and just like, all of that. And from my understanding, and you can kind of talk more about this, I know a doctor was like, oh, it's like the throat, chakra, which some people may or may not believe in, but right, being blocked. Like I did not speak up as a child. Like, it was always very, very hard. Or even when I would try, let's say if I was trying to share something that happened, I was like, literally, I'm like, I just cry. I'm like, I can't get this out. Like, what is happening? So I know you've been on this journey, and you also did it in a very natural way, which I think is so amazing. Can you share a little bit more about that? And then do you also think that maybe suppressing ever played a role? Like, is that something you've thought about? Just kind of curious.
Well, I love that you asked me that question because I think suppression is huge in health, because whatever we're suppressing is definitely going to impact you health wise. I'm a huge believer of energy. I think that it's incredibly important that you're careful with your energy.
Mhm.
I used to be the kind of person where I would just allow all these people into my life.
Yeah.
I called myself a friend collector.
Mhm.
I would have all kinds of friends and I loved everybody. And I don't know if there was maybe like a little bit of naive to who I was,
Mhm.
where I thought people were who they showed me.
Mhm.
Mm.
But that's not how it is. Like, and so I think that, you know, I really started to focus on the energy, and that was a big part of, you know, my changing in the way that I saw how I was interacting with other people and allowing them into my life. I think for the whole thyroid thing, I was diagnosed in 2020,
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
and of course that was like a fabulous
Hospital.
year.
COVID. Yeah.
So it was like October, and then we went through all this stuff
Mhm.
with the pandemic, and then here I am, October, I'm told that I have thyroid cancer. And so I decided to take a look at conventional ways of dealing with thyroid cancer.
Mhm.
And I decided that it wasn't really for me. Like, it's everyone can make their own health choices,
Mhm.
but for me, I wanted to be more of a functional medicine journey. I wanted to be able to understand like what caused my thyroid cancer.
Mhm.
And I may never find out, right? But it was really important for me to understand like what was it in my body that decided that this is going to happen. Like, so I went to a functional medicine doctor, and I've been with a functional medicine doctor since. So it's now I'm going to be coming up to 5 years in
Mhm.
October.
Wow.
And one of the things, or several of the things that I've learned in this journey is energy is incredibly important,
Mhm.
and illnesses do start from suppression.
Mhm.
So for me, I went through a really bad chapter in my life when I moved to Houston. So there was something about Houston that was very scary for me. I was like, I don't know, like my husband and I and the kids, we moved around quite a bit for my husband's job. But then there was something about Houston that I was hesitant, because all the other places we moved to, I was like, yeah, let's go, let's go. But something about Houston, I had like this push, like, don't go, don't go.
Mhm.
And I ended up going because obviously my husband was, you know, he's making the money for the family. So we have to go where the job is. So we went, we came here, and so we came here in 2014. And then in 2015 is when my whole world came tumbling down. Like, I found out some things that were going on, and some, you know, stuff that really like just damaged my heart, my mind, my spirit. I started questioning everything. You know, what was reality, what was true. And
Mhm.
I feel like during that time, because I kept it all suppressed, I didn't share it, I didn't talk about it. It was kind of like this little secret, that not a little secret, it was a big secret
Mhm.
that I was holding on to for the protection of myself, my family, my
Yeah.
kids. And I really do believe that that was like the rock that fell off the hill that just got everything going with my thyroid cancer. I really do believe that, because when I started reading about cancers and what they're associated with,
Mhm.
thyroid cancer is usually associated with feeling like suffocation, like
Mhm.
you're feeling suffocated, and that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
And so it usually takes about 5 to 10 years for cancers to develop, according to my doctor. That's what they said. And I just think that that was what pushed me into this health journey that I don't want to be on, but I am. Because my mom and dad are in their 70s. They are so healthy. They take
Mhm.
just like a multivitamin.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, that's all they take. So, you know, I'm like, wait, I have really good genetics when it comes to health and aging. And why am I in this position when I've
Mhm.
never had any health issues growing up? But then when I started understanding energy
Yeah.
and suppression, and not allowing your voice to come out and to share when you're kind of living a lie, it really does damage to your internal.
Yeah.
And I think that had a big part to do with what happened to me and what caused the cancer to, you know, the cancer to develop.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I definitely, I would say I absolutely agree. I think, carrying so much, carrying it all on your own. And I think so many women like do that. we all go out there and it's like, hey, how, even when you meet with lunch for friends and everything, everything's great. Maybe you vent a little bit, you complain, but it's like there's something so heavy in your heart. It's sometimes hard to share. I know I feel so blessed that I have Gabby. We've been best friends since we were 14. But when I really even looking back, I would say there was things that that it feels so like, how can I even say this? They're so shameful. So, but if you don't get it out, it is just stuck in your body,
Mhm.
and can wreak havoc. So,
It's very damaging. And I think that a lot of times people think, like, well, I'm living in denial. It's okay. It's kind of like back there, but it's doing so much damage internally that you have no idea.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of women, we do that. We go out to lunch, we get together with the girls. And I think it's because we don't want it to seem like, well, for me, I can only say in my perspective, I never wanted it to seem like it was a definition of my own judgment and my own decision making. I didn't want people to look at me and think, oh my God, she made that decision or she did that. Or I didn't want anyone to like kind of look at me that I was not able to make like good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times women may feel that too. And that's why they don't want to talk about what's going on in their life or what's happening.
Yeah.
And they just hold it in like, how's everything going? Oh, great. No, it's,
And
yeah, it's not.
there was a bit. I feel like there's a big part too for a lot of people, and probably all men and women, that we tend to like. We don't want to seem like we don't wanna be judged or that we can't handle it, and then much less that same thing, criticize, and then seen as oh my gosh, you're hearing that, even if though we're not supposed to look for the validation of others, it's just hearing it. It only makes it worse, right? Because of the situation you're going through, thinking of what others are going to say. Like I think it ties back into our people pleasing and
Yep.
making others happy and looking like the good girl and I've got it together, and then not being vulnerable is hard. And what you talk about is my mom's a big, I call her my woo woo mom, because since I've been little, she's been into things, spiritual things, and her faith is very strong, but she's always talked about energy, about not sharing yourself always with others, not, because you don't know what that means. That there is good in the world, but there is some people that will take from you or that will make you feel less than without you even realizing it, right? And I think a lot of those conversations that are not had at those tables is because we are in, I think for me, it feels like, I'm gonna say personally, there was a shift that it got to the toxic positivity. Like if you came in hot with your stuff, people are gonna be like, "Serious, that's all she does. Like she just complains. She can't be great. You can't be grateful for what you have." But if you were just needing some support, which I think most of us want, and Paula and I are trying to build a community now where people feel supported, because there's so many of us going through this. Every single person has something. You sit and have a conversation that we're not separated. It doesn't matter where you are in life. And finding that is not as hard as we think it is, but we go into these pretend worlds where it's very hard. And I have had groups of friends, like I'm sure you have had too, but where you just feel where the line is at, where
Right.
what you're going for, right? And that's it. And you care for them and all that, but it's not like your people that you're gonna go in there and be like, oh, this happened today, and I might need you guys to just listen and not judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also an important
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
Be very careful who you share stuff
Yes.
with.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when someone hasn't gone through any bad chapters, they cannot connect. They cannot understand.
Yeah.
But when someone's been through stuff,
Yes.
they can sit down and have a conversation with you. They're not coming up with solutions for you. A lot of
Yes.
times when someone hasn't gone through stuff, they'll come up with some kind of solution, right? And life is not like that all the time. There's not like a problem and a quick solution or a quick fix. Sometimes you kind of have to flow through stuff to see where it leads. But I think it's really important to be very careful, because I learned that the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was going through my hard stuff, I was just like reaching out to anybody that would listen.
Yeah.
And
Life
so
rafter, just like, what can
and
I?
people love to listen to your problems.
Yeah.
I will tell you that. They love to listen to that. But what they do with that information,
Oh, that's
it gets very kind of sad, because some people just enjoy like sharing it or talking about it, or being like, "Oh my God, did you hear poor Allie, what she's going?" And they say it in a way where it seems sweet, but it's not, because it's really not their story to tell.
Yeah.
And so like I learned that too because I was very naive. I trusted everybody. I
Mm-hmm.
shared. I'm an open book. Like if someone asks me a question, I'm going to answer it.
Yeah.
But I learned the art of restraint a little bit, like to be more cautious of what you're sharing and the details. Like you can still be open and honest about your life, but you have to be a little careful with.
And I think we all
Hmm.
should, especially as you've learned from your experiences of things happening, that you
Oh
have
yeah.
to be, a little choosier.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because everyone is in a different phase. And I'll like, at one point, I know I was that person that, yes, that toxic positive. I was like, oh no, everything, like
Why can't you fix it?
because I believe in God. I believe in the law of, of attraction, all this. And I was like, oh, I'm just not going to focus on the bad. I'm going to always choose to focus on the positive. If something was
Right.
bad, I'm like, well, I don't even want to talk about it. But that was all suppressing. Now it's so funny because now Gabby and I'm like, I get it. We call it Delulu magic because yes, we are Delulu. I want to talk about the energy that I, am trying to attract and that I want to live in. But also when something negative happens, you have to be able to look within, what can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me? But also I'm going to feel this. I'm going to cry and actually go into that feeling and process that so it doesn't get stuck. And, sometimes that's like a continuous thing that you're going through, for months. But it's so important to have that community. And I think that's what we're really trying to build, and more people that can be more vulnerable, because I feel like that's so lacking.
It is
It's
lacking. People are really wanting authenticity.
Yeah.
And I always joke about this on my social media. I'm like, you all want authenticity, but you all gravitate towards the stuff that's not authentic, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't understand this. Like, where's the balance? I think it's almost like they want to hear it, but then if it's too much,
Then I
it's
don't
too
want to.
it's
It's
too
too
much
hard.
for them to hear.
Yeah.
Because they
So
feel like they have to, yeah, like either, I don't know, take it on, but it's just like, I feel like people just felt like, hey, like I can share and other people can share. And it's not something that you have to fix or something that you have to, agree with or disagree with. It's just like everybody being a little bit more
mhm.
open. And sorry, I interrupted you.
Here's
Oh
my
no.
story.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. That's but I like what you said, that Allie, that about people do want that, and then when it's too much, that's like too much, girl. Like
Yeah, I
you
want
didn't
it
have to share
authentic,
all
but
that.
that's too
You
much.
didn't have to go there. You needed to
You
like
gotta
roll it
back
back
it
a
up a
little.
little bit.
Yeah,
But
because
my mom has been like your mom. My
yeah,
mom has always been, and now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my, because we used to bump heads
yeah.
when we were growing up. But now that I'm older, I'm like, thank you, God, for giving me her as a mother.
Mhm.
She is so like, she's so faithful,
Mhm.
and she believes in God. She just, the way she lives her life is just truly authentic. And she always has told me, if you feel like screaming, you scream. If you feel like crying, you cry. If you're happy, you smile. Like, let yourself have those feelings. And then just, next tomorrow's another day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift.
Where not everyone has that. Like some people are raised with family members that they don't communicate very well.
Mhm.
They suppress their emotions.
Mhm.
If there's issues in the family, they just kind of brush it under the rug. I wasn't raised that way.
Mhm.
We addressed it, we nailed it, like we made sure we talked about it immediately.
Mhm.
Um so it's weird for me when I'm around
To
individuals like
hear.
that,
Yeah.
that I'm like, how do you not have a conversation with your siblings or your mom or dad about stuff like this? Because I'm an open book with my mom and dad
Yeah.
and my sister.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's a blessing,
Mhm.
and that to be I can hear the gratitude in you to have that, because it teaches you that, right? That you're okay with all those emotions. So now you're able to like go through every single thing, and you know that it's okay. You've seen it in your family. It hasn't been something that was not taught to you. So you're able to put it into practice in your life.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's so funny how we appreciate our moms so much more, like late 30s, 40s. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
how did you do all of what you do and keep it together? And in a time where it was just so different, back then. I have no idea. I appreciate, it's funny because me and my mom used to bump heads. Obviously, I think every, teenager and
Mhm.
their parent, bumps heads. But now there's like such an appreciation for the way that they, and what they gave us.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have Amazon Prime.
No.
Like, my kids come home, they're like, I have a project. And I'm like, okay, let me go on Amazon
Let
Prime.
me get what you need. Let me fix it. It's easy,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at that, do you do anything where you feel like that you're like see in your life like a belief that you're like, okay, like most people are like, I do my really a lot of gratitude, so I see it come into fruition in all of my aspects. Is there anything you see that you believe in that continuously is part of?
I I guess I just like really believe in just living out your full
Mm,
potential
yeah.
and just making sure you love on people the way
Mm.
that that God loved on people, and just sharing that the best you can.
Mhm.
Um I think that's the big thing for me. I have like some goals in the future and things like that that I would love to do.
Yeah.
Like one being like, having a conference of women and just
Mhm.
sharing. And, once my kids get a little bit older, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable like opening up about more stuff in my
Yeah.
life.
Mhm.
But yeah, just things like that. Just
Which is
really
amazing. That's a
Yeah.
great one though.
like
You
I
know, just
always
live
I
your life to the fullest. I
yeah,
mean,
just live
that
your
that
life to the
that's
fullest.
you know, that's a great way. That is the best way probably to live it each day.
And even like I do get opportunities to travel for work, and
Mhm.
sometimes I have like a little bit of guilt that kicks in, like the mom guilt, like,
Yes.
oh, my daughter has a volleyball game, I'm gonna miss it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not doing anything bad, and I'm filling
And you're
myself up,
Mhm.
and I'm doing the things that bring me joy.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's gonna be okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like, and then she'll see a mom that is mostly at the games, but she's also seeing a mom that is choosing herself when the opportunities do come.
Absolutely.
So it's not like I'm always giving, 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 because I'm always there.
Yes.
And then every once in a while I get an opportunity to travel. I'm like, I'm hopping on that opportunity because it brings me such joy.
I love that. Yeah, but it's so funny that mom guilt is real.
Real.
It is like,
Ugh.
and it's something I think we just all have to struggle with daily. But then making that choice and showing them that example, because
Mhm.
when they grow up, you want them to be able to do the same for themselves. How did you get into your profession? Because I'm curious, right? You went started with pharmaceutical sales, so did you do
Yeah.
sales for a while, and then I know you said you were traveling,
And,
with
Yeah.
your husband.
yeah.
I'd love to hear.
So I started in pharmaceutical sales, and then I met my husband, we got married, we had 3 kids, so we moved around quite a bit. And because I was moving around quite a bit, we decided, and plus our first two were 13 months apart.
Oh, oh.
Mine too.
So it's
Mine
like,
too.
oh, really?
It's yeah,
Oh my
it's so
God.
awesome, but it's so
It was
tiring.
very hard in the beginning because I didn't have help.
Yeah.
And because we moved
And
around,
you were
there
moving.
was,
Yeah, I can
and there was
imagine. Yeah.
nobody
Mm.
helping.
Oh.
I didn't have family.
Yeah.
And at that point, when you're a mom of like young kids, it's hard for you to trust like strangers.
Yes.
I'm like, oh no, no one's coming near my kids. But yeah, we moved around. I ended up staying home and raising the kids. And probably about 10 years into our marriage, I went to a party, and if you're just at a party, people are talking, and someone's like, hey, Allie, what do you do for fun? And I couldn't freaking answer that question.
Oh my gosh.
Like hobbies?
We've all been
I'm like,
there. Right?
hobbies? Like,
Hold
I
the
play
kids.
Barbie with my
I'm like,
kids.
I do laundry, I
Hold
clean,
the
I
baby.
yeah, I change diapers. I'm like, hobbies? Like, I don't even know. But that person changed my life. They didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Because I went home that night, I cried. I was like,
Uh-oh.
man, I'm so boring. I have nothing to share.
Yeah.
But then it also like started getting the wheels moving. Like, it's time for you to start thinking about what you want to do.
Wow.
And so when everything happened in 2015, when I had that whole big thing happen in my life, I realized that because I fell into depression for almost a year. And at that point, I realized I'm either going to have to do something or I'm going to stay in this spot.
Oh.
And I don't want to stay in this spot
Mhm.
because I'm so much better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I crawled myself out of that depression hole. I went to therapy. I'm still in therapy. And crawled myself out of that depression hole, and I started praying. I started getting closer to God because I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, you got to help me here. And I started praying, and I don't know what it was, but I had this like message in my head, go buy a new lens for your camera. And I said, okay, I'll listen, I'll do it. So I went and I bought a lens for my camera. And I took a photo of my youngest and myself in my bed. And it was so cute because she had curly hair and I had curly hair. We had it like in a little bun on top, and we were both looking at each other. And I was like, this is the most precious little photo that I've ever taken. I'm going to share it on Instagram. So I shared it on Instagram, and I tagged Pier One, which was the headboard that
Yeah.
I had on my bed. I tagged them, and anyways, they reached out and they're like, "Hi, we'd like to, talk to you about buying the rights to that image because we like to use it for a campaign for Mother's Day."
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "Is this a joke?" Like I didn't even,
like,
yeah,
wow.
like I didn't even know if
What
it was something that
Yes.
real,
Yeah.
because this isn't part of my generation.
Yeah.
And so come to find out it was real. And then I started working with them, and I was like, wow, you can actually make some money doing this. So then that's kind of how it started. It started with that moment of buying a lens, taking a photo, led to a brand reaching out, and that's how it started. And then I started sharing my life online in a way that was almost therapeutic to me. So I was speaking to the viewers as how I wanted someone to speak to me. So, and that started connecting to a lot of women online at the time, because I feel like the space has changed a little bit. But at the time, a lot of women were really resonating with what I was saying or sharing or talking about. And they were, following along, and they were very engaged in what I was sharing. But then over time, like obviously I evolved. I grew out of like these bad spots in my life, and I've developed into a different type of creator. But I do share a lot of inspirational stuff still online, and I do share a lot of things about people pleasing and mindset and things that you can control and you can change in your own life.
I love how relatable you are, because I think we have similar age kids, and I love seeing how you go through navigating ages and all that, and it's so fun because I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids, like it's very sweet, but it's fun to see that. I'm like, oh gosh, all of us moms are going through it, and we're all finding our way. Did you find, because we're just starting in this, and obviously we're doing like for the podcast, and there's other things we want to do. We had the little event the other day, and we just really want to build community as our big goal, like you. And was it easy to step into the role? Did you feel nervous at all? Like going from, because you were already, your job was already a full committed job, was a mom, right? Because you are like hands-on. You've already told us like you're very, all the things. And then you had to pivot and have to create, this role to be on camera and continue as Alley. But was it a little bit like scary as a people pleaser?
Very scary. And don't forget, I have a lot of Italian family.
Yes, I know.
So they're
Right.
they're looking at my stuff online and going, "What is she doing? She's a mom of 3. She's wearing high heels and a mini skirt." Like so I had to really get over all that. And I would get like little things
Comments.
little comments made. And I really had to push through that. And now don't forget, like, this is someone entering the internet space that also is suffering from like, lack of self-worth, lack of so I was really fighting all these things when I was showing up, because I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to show up in this space. I don't really have a story to tell. What's so important about me? Like, these are the things that I was saying to myself when I was entering the space. But I pushed through that. I was like, I saw something more. And then when I would have women DM me and tell me their story and tell me what they were going through, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I don't care if it's one person. I don't need thousands of people. I don't need millions of followers. I don't need that. One person per day where they say, Alley, you made me smile. Alley, you made me feel less alone. Let me tell you my story. And it's like these women opened up and shared their stories with me, and we've never even met.
So beautiful.
So that's when I knew I'm on the right path. Like, I knew I was on the right path, and I had to push aside everything, because everyone was asking, like, what are you doing? Because at the time, influencing or blogging or it wasn't as well known as now. Like
Yeah,
now
on
little
Instagram.
kids,
Yeah.
Yes.
now little kids are like, what do you want to be when you grow
Yeah.
up? And they're like, I want to be an influencer. And but when I started,
New.
nobody really knew what was going on.
And that's a
Mhm.
mom.
So they see a mom of three hop online doing stuff.
Telling
And
all their business. Yeah,
that
like
was-
it's
That was
people are
a
like,
lot of
"What?"
courage. That's
Yeah.
a lot of courage.
And I
You took on, like, you faced it, you did it, and here you are, and
Yeah.
you're succeeding. And
yeah.
I mean, again, I want to thank you for reaching
I
out
have
to us.
goosebumps.
Yes, because your
Yeah.
journey and you being here with us, to me, it just feels like such a gift.
It is
And
like,
just
Oh,
hearing
thank
you
you.
today, like, you are exactly what I needed to hear
Thank
myself
you.
today. Yeah,
Yes.
like I've had a couple of weeks that have been in everything you've said right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that God put you here for a reason
Oh,
to help me.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
I'm like, don't make me cry. Come
I
on.
know all three of us are gonna be.
There's always, hey, even when we had our friend, Melly's brother, Vlad, he was here, and he said
Mhm.
too, he's like, I might cry. And we're like, well, everybody cries. What is it about us? We start talking about all this stuff.
You
in
know what
life,
it
and,
is? It's because we all keep it
yes.
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
We keep it in as best as we can. And when we have the opportunity to share, it's like a release.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It is a good release. Well,
And I think it's in that transformation, like what you said, I think was so like beautiful because obviously we had the same. We would talk and we're like, we're gonna start this podcast, and then it'd be like, dude, are we crazy? Like, why are we doing this? Is so much,
Mhm.
and just I think when you push through that, because everyone has that for whatever, whether they're trying out for a new job, just
Right.
anything, and pushing through that and knowing like your self-worth. And I think for me it was like getting closer to God, um, which sometimes happens in like the unraveling, the breaking down.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I'm sure what you went through in 2015 was like, I do not want to go through this. This is the worst thing. And sometimes the worst things that we think are happening end up being the best thing. It's like what woke us up
Mhm.
and what got us closer to a relationship with God. I know that's definitely happened for me. I mean, I always knew. I was like, God's got me. God knows I love God.
Bit of a
Like,
success
it's like, and I'm, but and I'm just going on my way, right? And thank you for this. But then when you go through something, and I felt the same thing with the podcast, I'm like, is this like is what message am I getting? Are these just my thoughts? But then you do something and it just like continues, and it's like the universe just starts opening
Mhm.
these things up for you, right? And God is just starts putting the right people in your path, just like you with right tagging Pier 1 and like
wow.
right, like how
Yes.
amazing. And now you are doing something that's fulfilling to you, right? That fills your cup, and being able to show your kids and so many women that hey, you can do something that you love, and put yourself first and prioritize yourself and still love everyone else. Like it actually makes you a better,
The world
I
doesn't
think,
fall apart.
human. It makes us better moms.
Yeah.
It gives us just so much more to do, and it's scary as shit. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy, but I think the more women that do that, and then like that connection, you really start getting these messages or getting these divine moments of inspiration. And it's crazy how it works, but it's so beautiful.
It
Yeah.
really is. And then one thing that I always try to tell women too is if you are going through a hard, difficult time in your life and you have to make some sort of decision,
Mhm.
stop and take moments, like whether it be a week, 2 months, a year, 10 years, whatever it is, like make sure you stop and don't feed into the initial feelings or the reactions that you want to have. Because I think sometimes people can be in that moment and make a decision based on those like really strong emotions without
Mhm.
even thinking everything through.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes that has to be said to women because a lot of times we hear women giving a solution and it's like a quick solution in the moment, but instead of saying, "Hey, my friend, like how about you just give this some time?"
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
The gift of time, because choices can be made at whenever you want, but the time you can't get back.
Yeah.
So it's just important to give yourself that gift of time.
The gift of time and,
Yeah.
until
Mhm.
the space, right? To appropriate for the
Mhm.
situation or whatever you're
Connect
going
with
through.
yourself, and then trust that you're gonna get that right, that right
With that
action
thought.
versus like acting on
Impulsive.
fear
Yeah.
or old limiting
Yeah,
beliefs.
'cause
The
that's
gift
not
of time. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
That
That
is
Yeah.
perfect,
The
Allie.
gift of time.
All of us.
Hmm.
That's what we need. And it does work, I find.
It
Right?
does.
We're
Mhm.
both learning.
Even
Say,
even if you get a bad
yeah,
text message and you give yourself the gift of time
Yeah.
just step
and you
away.
don't respond right away,
Yes.
you find that you'll respond differently
Oh my
when
gosh.
you give yourself a little break and then go back to it and respond to it. Because sometimes your
Yes.
emotions like kick in.
And they take over. And
Hmm.
that's
Sometimes,
really
all the
nice.
time. I'm like,
We're getting better. It's hormonal. I call it, our time. We're gonna put it off to that.
oh my gosh, this has been so much fun having you on. What are you working on? Is there anything that you want to share that,
You want us to?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really working on anything big right now, so I don't really have anything like extravagant to share. I'm
Yeah.
just like really trying to continue my online presence, and I am working on something privately. I'm actually working on a book, but it's
So
going to take a
exciting.
long time to get that together for me. So it's kind of like a long-term project for me because I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to make it more of a fictional or self-help
Ooh.
or yeah.
That's exciting.
I got a
Can't wait.
I
lot
can't wait. I
of
can't wait
material.
to go
I
on.
got a lot of material.
You can
So
make it a series.
yeah, I can make it a series.
Like, that's
But
what I'd say.
I think that's what life is about, just us continuously expanding, right? Like our soul just seeking expansion and growing,
yeah.
and connecting with more people. So I'm so glad that you've shared your story. We really, really appreciate you
Yeah.
being on.
Thank you so much, ladies, for
And I
having
can't wait.
me.
We can't wait to have you back. And we're gonna probably plan a few things too, like other little mini events. So here at the studio. So it'll be great to have you two come and maybe
Yes.
be our little guest and talk to
Yeah, I
another
love
group of
that.
people and all that. It's gonna be fun.
Your story is so relatable, so inspirational.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing it with the world
Yeah.
from such an early, time, again, 2015,
Yeah.
when people weren't even doing that and being authentic and,
Yes.
being able to impact so many women,
Yeah.
I think is such a beautiful journey that you've been on.
Yeah, because at the time, nobody was really doing like
No.
inspirational.
No.
There was only a handful.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of people in their late 30s, early 40s online.
Yeah.
Now it's entirely different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely, I love it. I love seeing people in their 60s, 70s, 80s online creating content. I'm like, what a beautiful time
For sure.
to
It's the best.
witness
I love
this.
those. I love those pages. Those are my favorite.
I'm like,
50 and up. I'm like, you go, just go do it all. Like whatever you want to create, whatever you want to do. I love seeing it.
yeah, like even today I was scrolling and there was this 72-year-old woman and she was
Yeah.
sharing her fashion, and then one of her fashions was this mini skirt and boots. I'm like,
Oh.
that's gonna be me.
Yes.
I'm like, I love that.
I love.
I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
So
May we continue that.
uh-huh.
Continue flourishing.
Yes.
That's the word. Okay, guys. Well, everybody, thank you for being with us today.
Yes.
And
Don't
so-
forget to subscribe and like. And
Yes.
thank you, Natalie, so much for being on.
Yes. Okay.